Hello everyone and welcome to In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 31st of March and my name is George Glass, an Associate Managing Director in the Cyber Threat Intelligence team. Joining me today is Ryan Hicks, Dave Truman and Sarah Carrigan. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So let's get into the situation report. First up, we have Operation ForumTroll. This is a Kaspersky uncovered campaign reported in March, dubbed Operation ForumTroll, which exploited a zero-day vulnerability, CVE 2025-2783, in Google Chrome to bypass its sandbox via a phishing email link. The personalized, short-lived links led to infection without further user action, exploiting a logical flaw between Chrome and Windows. The campaign, likely linked to state-sponsored APT group, targeted Russian media and educational institutions under the guise of Primakov Readings Forum, with espionage as a suspected motive. So it's important to make sure that you update Google Chrome to patch that zero-day vulnerability. Next up, we have KTA 439, also known as Storm 0249, distributing Ice Nova, also known as Latrodectus, Trojan with fake downloads. Microsoft uncovered a new tactic by the threat actor who is now using fake download Windows 11 Pro websites to distribute Ice Nova malware loader. The deceptive sites, mimicking legitimate pages, delivered a JavaScript file hosted on Google Firebase, which then installed BruteRetel and ultimately Ice Nova. This marks a shift from the actor's usual phishing-based initial access methods, including fake copyright claims and malvertising. The campaign also appeared to leverage Facebook to drive traffic via malicious ads. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that one. But remember, if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. So let's get into the rest of today's briefing. Today we're going to cover the following trends. I will be discussing the Oracle data breach, which was making the news last week. I also have some news on a Kubernetes vulnerability discovered by Wiz. Ryan is going to update on some MEDUSA ransomware TTPs. Dave will be covering a China-nexus APT. And finally, Sarah will of course be running us through this week's ransomware roundup. So let's get on to the Oracle Cloud breach. This is an out-of-band intelligence update that we sent last Friday. On March 20th, 2025, Kroll identified a post to the Cybercrime Forum breach forums by the actor Rose87168, which we track as KTA 432. In this post, the actor reported an alleged Oracle breach impacting more than 140,000 companies, totaling over 6 million users' SSO credentials, LDAP details, and other sensitive information. The post included samples of the exposed data, as well as a list of impacted companies. Specifically, the threat actor claimed to have encrypted SSO passwords, hash LDAP passwords, Java key store files, and Enterprise Manager Java Policy Store, JPS keys, related to the impacted companies. At the time of this post, the actor requested assistance from other users in decrypting the hash passwords, and which would be responsible to win a free copy of the data set. The threat actor claimed to compromise the Oracle Cloud subdomain login.us2.oraclecloud.com, which was taken offline shortly after the allegations first became public. And now, based on the analysis of the information available, Kroll assesses that the alleged data breach is likely to be authentic. But assessment of the information is still ongoing, obviously, to identify the impact timeframe and assess the viability of the data to be used in further attacks. Just a note on KTA 432, as a relative newcomer to breach forums, with only one other post using the handle, and therefore it's difficult to assess the reliability of the actor. At the time of this briefing, the handle has posted 13 times to the forum, but continues to edit prior posts. Now, it's really important to cover the recommendations here. So first of all, a reset of Oracle SSO accounts, rotating the LDAP credentials with the associated service as a matter of precaution. Ensure all of the accounts that are leveraging that service have MFA in place. Obviously, an effective monitoring agent such as EDR and SIEM is critical here. Threat hunting for suspicious logins originating from that service as well may be prudent. And you can always contact us for cybersecurity consulting or incident response services. We're always here. You can check our website or reach out to cti@kroll.com. Okay, let's go on to IngressNightmare. So IngressNightmare is the name given to a set of critical vulnerabilities in the Kubernetes Ingress-NGINX controller's admission component. This is discovered by Wiz researchers and responsibly disclosed. And the flaws allow for an unauthenticated attacker to remotely execute code in the Ingress controller pod, with additional vulnerabilities allowing full cluster compromise. The first three vulnerabilities allow for arbitrary configuration changes to be made to the Ingress-NGINX configuration, and those are CVE 2025-1097, CVE 2025-1098, and CVE 2025-24514. All of those have a CVSS score of 8.8, and you can read more about the technical details in our post. The crux here, though, is CVE 2025-1974. That has a CVSS score of 9.8, and that is the unauthenticated attack component here. The Kubernetes advisory states that it's the most serious of the vulnerabilities and allows anything on the pod network to exploit configuration injection vulnerabilities via the validating admission controller feature in Ingress-NGINX. And that's essentially what allows the vulnerability to work. It means anything on the pod network basically can access the credentials with no other administrative access required. So that's what makes this so severe. Ingress-NGINX is a very popular Ingress controller as well. Wiz stated that 43% of the environments, that's over 6,500 clusters, were running vulnerable Ingress controllers, many of which were exposed to the internet. Additionally, multiple POC scripts have appeared on code sharing sites such as GitHub following the technical breakdown released by Wiz. And we assess that due to the ease of exploit, evidence of scanning from the exploit, which we've identified on Grey Noise, it's highly likely that the vulnerability be weaponized in the near term. And so it's absolutely imperative that an update is made for Ingress-NGINX to version 1.11.5 or 1.12.1 as soon as possible. Bearing in mind that although the Ingress-NGINX may not be exposed to the internet, there are still internal attack vectors for this vulnerability as well. So one really to focus on here over the next few days. And that's all from me. I will hand over now to Ryan to update us on MEDUSA. Over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, George. Last week, Elastic Security Labs reported on a campaign that saw a malicious driver that it identifies as a BIS worker, also known as and reported as Portry, facilitating defense bypass activities, which saw the deployment of MEDUSA ransomware. So during the campaign, the driver mimics a CrowdStrike endpoint sensor within the PE header, so sort of just statically shown on the right there. However, it is using likely stolen but revoked certificates from a number of Chinese companies. So before the driver is deployed, the Windows time service is typically disabled, whereby the system time is set to that matching the expiry date of the stolen certificate to allow it to effectively bypass sort of basic certificate expiration checks. The driver itself has the functionality to manipulate files and terminate processes and drivers. And these functions allow for the defense evasion part through targeting endpoint detection and response related files and processes. So in previous campaigns, the driver targeted, in that case, Sentinel-1 file directory, recursively searching through and then deleting any executables it found in that directory, alongside killing the Sentinel-1 process. It's likely, however, that a range of other technologies are also targeted. So really just sort of what depends on what is present on the system at that particular time. So many other EDR killer type tools have also appeared in the past year, such as EDR kill shifter, there's AU kill, AV neutralizer, among a few others. And these have all been used by a number of ransomware groups. So MEDUSA is really just an additional group to add to the list of those utilizing these tools as a precursor for ransomware. And this continues just to highlight the needs to maintain that kind of defense in depth strategy. If there's a case where a single kind of product or service or security services is being bypassed. And that's all for me. I'll hand back to George.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And now we go over to Dave for some China-nexus APT news. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. Signia detailed the activity of a China-nexus threat actor, KTA-437, aka Weaver Ant, which infiltrated a major telecoms provider. It appears that an investigation into a minor incident led to the discovery of a much more significant intrusion, which has been ongoing for several years. The campaign made heavy use of web shells, most commonly a variant of China Chopper, but a new malware named in-memory web shell was also found. China Chopper is a lightweight web shell. The samples found in the campaign made use of AES encryption and were written in ASPX or PHP. The samples discovered also used variable names like key and pass to hold their commands, as the values to these are often hidden or removed in security tools to avoid leaking sensitive information. The in-memory web shell is interesting as it takes a different approach to China Chopper's simplicity. This shell receives a compressed base64 encoded data blob, which it encapsulates inside a DLL file called eval.dll, which it loads into memory via reflection so that it never has to write to disk. KTA-437 used web shells as proxy servers to interact with web shells on internal web servers, which in turn they used to laterally move via more traditional methods, such as the SMB protocol. One of the ways they interacted with SMB was using .NET's system management automation functionality to run invoke SMB client and invoke SharpView without having to spawn PowerShell.exe, a technique known as PowerShell without PowerShell. KTA-437 also performed event tracing for Windows patching and anti-malware scan interface bypass techniques. Since the compromise was detected during an investigation into a minor compromise, it is possible that a good threat hunting regime may have helped in detecting the compromise earlier. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, Dave. Really appreciate that. And now we go to Sarah for the ransomware roundup. Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, George. I have 2 updates for this week. The first update we have is about KTA-430, which is Van Helsing ransomware. We reported on this back in mid-March, so not too long ago. Just now we're updating about their expansion. Van Helsing, it's a new ransomware as a service, and they demand ransoms as high as 500,000. The service offers free access to affiliates that have a good reputation, and then if they are newer affiliates who don't have that good reputation, they must pay a deposit of 5,000 to utilize the service. And then there's the payout of the 80% for affiliates, and the operators receive 20%, which is normally typical with ransomware groups. But Van Helsing also targets multiple systems such as Windows, Linux, BSD, ARM, and ESXi. Even with a notable flaw that researchers discovered in the ransomware's file extension system, such as the encrypted files receiving a .Van Helsing extension when the malware attempts to correlate them with a .Van locker icon. Researchers are still identifying multiple versions of this evolving. And since the launch of this ransomware service, and this was around, recently 2 weeks ago, Van Helsing has infected multiple victims. They are demanding high ransoms, and it's causing various amounts of damage to victim organizations. So we're still keeping an eye on this group if they're, trying to cause this much trouble within, the first 2 weeks of being started. So then we do have a story about our next group. Next slide, please. KTA 433, so Arcana. They emerged around January 2025, and this is being discovered from looking at their data leak site that just emerged, but it's initially saying that their first post occurred in January. We also noticed that the group posted their name in Serbian, so this could indicate maybe a point of origin. On their data leak site, they do have a tagline that states post pen test services, data security, risk management, and your future. This group has made headlines from their first victim posting of it being a major US telecommunications organization. And this group's bringing some interesting tactics into their arsenal by doxing and publishing sensitive information on leadership of the victim organization, as well as claiming to have gained access into their internal systems. Again, this group is, stating within this first major victim that they have 2 databases worth of personal information, such as account IDs, usernames, passwords, names, security information, emails, and other permissions. So again, Kroll's keeping up with this because, just trying to see the trends of these ransomware groups targeting major companies and trying to make big moves within their first initial coming about. So that's all for me, George.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you to Ryan and Dave for presenting today as well. That's all we have for this week. If you've got any questions or comments, please do remember to reach out to us at cti@kroll.com. Have a great day. Thanks.